Moving on to our next leader's discussion on streamlining workload to optimize costs. While there is no one-size-fits-all formula to achieve efficient business processes, but effectively managing and streamlining workloads helps businesses to have better productivity and, of course, save costs. Be a part of the session to understand how to effectively streamline your workload to achieve better results. The speakers for this session include Sharad Saxena, board member, CSB Bank, advisor, Indian Bank. A brief introduction on Sharad. Sharad has more than 30 years of experience and has held almost all the leadership positions in ICICI Bank Technology Group, Bank of Baroda, Vijaya Bank, Dena Bank, and successfully led the most complex and the biggest bank merger in the country. He has made a strategic roadmap for IT landscape of the amalgamated bank to sustain its business strategies for the next 5 years. This included movement to cloud, renewal of IT infrastructure, development of big data lake platform, consolidation and movement of data centers, and large-scale digitization. Joining him is Krishna Guha Roy, Director IT and Nestlé Business Excellence, Nestlé. Krishna is a global IT executive with multicultural delivery experience. She has successfully driven change and innovation across high-profile industries, including consumer goods, food, beverage, healthcare, and automotive. We also have Surbhi Gupta, Head of Digital, ACC Limited. Surbhi is an innovation and technology leader with more than 16 years of experience in digital transformation, change management, agile and DevOps, and people leadership and development. She has expertise in delivering transformational programs that drive business strategy. Moderating the session is Krishna Mohan, Vice President and Global Head, AWS Business Unit, Tata Consultancy Services. Krishna leads TCS AWS Business Unit, supporting customers to accelerate their pathway to value yielded from their cloud investments, leveraging AWS to modernize and transform legacy business models. He provides strategic guidance on the transformative power of cloud, helping customers to achieve innovation, agility, and resilience. Well, it's a pleasure to have all four of you join us this afternoon, and I'm not going to take any more time. I'd like to hand the mic over to Krishna. Over to you, Krishna.
Thank you, Justin, for the introductions. And again, welcome panel, Sharad, Surbhi, and Krishna. It's great to have you to discuss the topic streamlining workloads on cloud to optimize costs. So it's my pleasure to have you, and looking forward for a pretty interactive session where your wisdom can be shared with the much larger group. From a context perspective, the public cloud adoption has definitely significantly increased post-pandemic across the organizations, and it has become pretty mainstream to drive enterprise transformation, both in IT as well as business to drive innovation. Given the full-scale adoption of cloud, there is also perception that cloud costs are creeping up, increasing significantly, if you will. Today, we will discuss what has been the experience of the esteemed panel in planning and controlling the overall cloud adoption, and keeping in mind to kind of balance, the cloud cost as well. With that context, Sharad, let me go ahead and ask you a question. You have been a board member, so how do you validate cloud strategy and investments in ROI when IT leadership comes to you with their plans of cloud transformation?
Hey, thank you, Krishna. This is a very interesting question, and I will try to answer not only this one but the cost aspect as well. So, first of all, if as you said, IT comes up with a cloud plan, then I get a little worried if it doesn't have a business plan attached to it. Because many times IT folks are quite enamored by new jazzy stuff in the market and they want to experiment, but that experiment cannot be bereft of a business case behind it. So this is the first question I ask. Go ahead, please do it. One, of course, since we are a regulated industry, we are cognizant of this fact that things are okay from the regulatory standpoint, and if they are, then what business benefit they are going to bring in. Now, business benefit, all of us know it can be innovation, it can be faster time to the market, it can be newer product and interaction with the various fintechs which have come, and assisting the banking ecosystem to take their services and integrate with their product offering and so on and so forth. So this is how we evaluate the go-to cloud strategy. Second is, I think, from the cost perspective, while technically you may be more suitably placed to answer this question, but from my standpoint, the banks historically have been managing their own IT. They have huge data centers and they have people. Most of them have not got exposed to this particular new technology or new environment which has come in. So earlier, the indiscipline of having a lot of environments, UATs, tests, and so on and so forth, and leaving them as they were, because already CapEx has sunk in, nobody is asking questions, is no longer valid. So the IT folks have to be sort of retrained, educated on this whole cloud setup management, and that discipline has to come in, that sort of rigor has to come into the process to contain costs, among the many other things which are there. So that's my short answer to your question.
Thank you, Sharad. What I heard is it's not just the cloud strategy, if you will. Cloud strategy has to fit in as part of the much larger business transformation strategy, and you have to consider all aspects of cloud, from an operating model and others, before you officially stamp go ahead on the cloud investments. Thank you on that. The question I have, Surbhi, what has been your experience in adopting cloud, and what measures have you implemented to ensure cloud transformation is successful, both from technology perspective as well as financially?
Yeah. So I think, again, Krishna, I would say good question. I would rather take a step back and talk about, if I talk about cloud transformation, the entire journey, I look at two lenses, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, So pre-pandemic, and I think Sharad was also mentioning about IT jumping and trying to say that we want to go on cloud, we want to migrate. And pre-pandemic, I think that was very much the case, So the biggest defining factor was largely, you need to go on cloud to save costs, So cost was a very big factor which was there. I think things have post-pandemic, and with the recent supply chain disruptions that you see, you will now see that the cost is not the basic limiting factor of any transformation journey now. It is about business value creation. It is about making your business more agile, more resilient, And I think that is now becoming more and more when we talk about cloud or when we talk about anything on digital transformation, this is now becoming more and more the defining parameters on which we have to ensure that there is a value which is created at the end of any transformation that we do. And if I talk from a manufacturing lens, so in manufacturing, we don't just have IT, we have OT, So we have large systems, we have our SCADA, DCS systems in all our plants. We have a lot of IoT devices. In fact, I was reading somewhere that the IoT devices itself would cross across the entire industry, it would cross more than 75 billion devices by 2025, which is maybe 2-3 years down the line. So it is massive, from the amount of data that we churn out in manufacturing, from the amount of devices, each and every device then becomes, a connecting point in its own sense. So if you look at that, we are looking at in manufacturing that somehow we want to converge this IT, OT, IoT together and make a connected landscape. So that is where we want to go. And this is where we know that if we achieve this connected landscape, we will be able to create the business value which we are targeting from the transformation initiatives. And for getting to that, we cannot have a pure play cloud strategy as well. So it has to be an amalgamation of, let's say, edge, on-premise, cloud, all together. So there would be overall, we need to reassess on all the set of application portfolio that we have. So as part of the journey, we are doing that. We are in the process of, we assess each and every application. At any point of time, there are various paths, whether migrate, modernize, etc. We can do rehosting, replatforming, refactoring of the applications. So what we essentially do is we assess all the entire application ecosystem where we want to take a step towards, moving or migrating something, and ensure that at the end of the day, there is an ROI which is tagged to any kind of a decision which we take. Yeah, and this is in the end creating that value for us. I can somewhere where we are bringing in new components, that is where it becomes a bit easier. To give you an example, like during the last 2 years of the pandemic, we connected all our sites. We have close to 35 sites across ACC and Abuja, and we connected all the sites to cloud. Yeah, so now we have all the data which we initially had at a siloed plant level. We already have it at a cloud, and we have also further taken contextualized data from that at a regional cloud level. Yeah, so we've demarcated as per what kind of use cases which we have, and decided how we take to which cloud level. Today, when I'm implementing any new use case, we are, basis that data, we are doing a lot of AI ML. I think I will talk about it a bit later as well. But just to highlight, it also then defines whether I need, as per the use case, the data to be more, available from an edge compute perspective or cloud compute perspective. So these are also some of the measures and decisions which we are taking in parallel to decide our entire transformation strategy. Yeah. But I think to the point which Sharad was also saying earlier, and where in your question, the overall approach or the overall journey that we take is defined that at the end we create that business value, which will then ensure that that the path that we have taken, or the investments which we have done, there is actually a payback for all those investments.
Thank you, Surbhi. Beautifully articulated the manufacturing industry and the cloud adoption, not only at the center of the universe in the data center, but even at the edge. So, I mean, cloud definitely has been the vehicle connecting both the IT and the OT. So, what we heard is you not only looked at the IT, you looked at the OT as well, connecting the factories, and the data strategy. How you have deployed, taken the cloud to the edge, and how all the data transformation is actually done, and creating a business case. I mean, what I normally use it, if I may, is normally it used to be a business case, which is more on cost savings. But the way that you explained, you're also looking at the value case. So what is the business value that actually comes out? So from cost to value is something that seems to be implemented. So thank you for that, and welcome, Krishna. Great to see you. See, in a way, pretty happy with the panel, which represents the financial services, bank, manufacturing, and now Krishna with CPG. The question to you, Krishna, is I'm pretty sure Nestlé has embarked on cloud transformation in a big way across the world. So what has been your experience in measuring the cloud value, and what are the best practices that you can share with this audience on how do you measure once you go onto the cloud, what kind of controls that you incorporate?
Talking about my organization, see, everything that we do, we keep the consumer at the center of it, right? And how we serve our customers, how we serve our consumers, that's at the center of it. And our journey to cloud is a strategic program that was defined to look at not just a specific use case or specific product, but in entirety, how do we move to cloud? And if I look at where we are, 50% of our the products that our employees and what is being exposed to our consumers is on the cloud. One of the reasons being a couple of things that the organization is aspiring to, and which is the key focus area, is agility in terms of being agile, where being on a cloud, you can your turnaround times are much faster. You could be, you are in a secure environment. You can bring on innovative products very quickly. And so these are some of the key drivers that have been, that has shaped our strategy on journey to cloud. Having said that, there have been a fair amount of learnings in this process. It's not a fancy and fad thing to do that, be on cloud. It's a need of the hour, and particularly as we have seen during the COVID era, to enable our employees, to enable our distributors, we needed, being on cloud really helped our case. However, we also found that there is, when we are looking at deploying, bringing solutions to cloud, or bringing products to cloud, it's important to have a plan in place being driven by the return on investment. What is it that, what is going to pay back more? Because cloud is not cheap. It's not always cheap, and you have to keep your eyes on the architecture, how the cloud resources are being used. We've even gone to the extent of finding code like we've found instances where codes are not optimized, and hence that's led to a significant increase sustenance cost or operations cost. How do we deal with it is having a very robust governance mechanism with internal capabilities, looking at it. Two key aspects out here. One is the technologies are evolving so fast. Capability building internally within the organization is also key to keeping up with the times of cloud transition. Secondly, wherever you're working with your partners, somewhere building it in the contract, how that operations are going to be optimized, having a governance mechanism to ensure that we are being cost optimal in our operations is some of the learnings which we are now putting in place in this journey to cloud.
Thank you, Krishna. I think thank you again for sharing. Definitely, it is a global experience also has come. It's very clear the way that you actually answered. What I picked up is architecting for the future is very important. Not just the journey immediately, but look at the architecture at all the layers of IT and architect for the future. I like the cloud coding analysis that you actually done, code discipline, code analysis, with more on low code, no code adoption. So ever increasing capabilities of cloud is definitely should be looked at from a coding perspective. And I also like the way that you captured that the talent. It is not just only the cloud team, and how the cloud operations and the cloud talent needs to be trained. Even the retained organization has to be trained, not only the service provider, is the way that I actually picked it up. And loved the last thing, holding the service provider accountable for the costs as well. Not only internal teams have contractual structures to hold them accountable as well. So thank you, Krishna. So I think what we broadly got in the first round, if you will, is the cloud strategy. So don't look at only the cloud, keep it the business value also. And how do we go about it? Keep always the ROI in mind and have some controls in place to really drive. So coming to probably a quick, looking at the time, a quick second round that I would like, probably Surbhi would go ahead with you. You had explained about the cloud modernization transformation, especially in the manufacturing at the edge as well. You also said, probably you will explain something how AML was used to drive the value out of it. So if you could go ahead and
yeah. So I think, when we are, because today the topic is specifically cloud transformation, but for me, and, when we are looking at cloud, we do not just look at it in silos. Yeah, we are doing only a cloud solution. We are looking at an end-to-end solution, which we deliver for business. So that would have the cloud component of it, that would have the connectivity component of it, that would have the data component of it, and it would then also have the AI or ML component on the top of it. Yeah. So if you look at some of the digital technologies which we are very keenly focusing on today is artificial intelligence and ML. Yeah. So we kind of call it AIoT because that is a, together with AI and OT, we are trying to create use cases. So some of the use cases which we are leveraging very clearly are in the area of predictive quality, predictive maintenance. Yeah. So how we can actually save on the overall costs of operations, or how we can increase the throughput from the plant by doing predictive quality. So there are some use cases which we have piloted very successfully. Similarly, on the predictive maintenance, how we can ensure that we do not have an unplanned failure at the plants. So these are some of the very successful pilots that we have done. And the one of the steps, so initially we had done it by leveraging the data which is already in the industry cloud which we have created, but now we are more targeting also to have we have set up edge pipes or edge data pipes in all our plants, wherein we are then targeting to create or deploy these models again. The idea being that at the end of the day, while we have some models which are now working, giving recommendations back, we want to achieve a closed loop automation. Yeah. And with edge, we actually did, one of the AI models which for predictive quality, which we have implemented in cloud, versus the one which we implemented in edge. We got the data or the output from cloud, we were getting in somewhere around 4 minutes. But in the edge, we got the output back within seconds. Yeah. So that is the kind of difference. And when we are talking of integrating such analytical model right into my production line, so it then automatically, changes. So in my control room where we are controlling all the parameters, be it pressure, temperature, etc., basis the recommendation from the analytical model, it automatically then directly feeds into the changing the variables of the production process, and then it makes it more smooth and streamlined. Yeah. So these are some of the next steps which we are looking at, and this is where a cloud compute kind of a technology is now helping or enabling us to take that next step in our production to make it more automated. Yeah. So we talk industry 4.0, in fact we are talking industry 5.0. A lot of these milestones, we'll say, we already have these milestones, will be achieved if we leverage the technologies in the right way. And I think for us, edge is the next area where we are keen to explore and automate more in the plant production process. And in fact, I was just having my team, and we are now discussing if we can do something in the area of fog computing also. Yeah. So we have not identified use case there, but this is for us again as part of the journey. We'll keep on innovating and experimenting. Yeah.
Thank you, Surbhi, for quite insightful experience. As a cloud leader, I'm super excited when you actually say combine all the might of the cloud, right? It's a compute. You have data transformation there. You explained how AML is actually used at the edge. We have seen the hyperscalers come out with, for example, AWS with SageMaker, 5G private network. So how all these things, one beautiful thing of cloud is actually brings the might of all the new technologies in a combined way. And your explanation of industry cloud, improving the productivity at the plant, quality, kind of explains how cloud is bringing all the new toys, if you will, in a combined way at the edge as well, so to drive the value. So really great. And more, I think you deploy industry use cases. Probably the topic goes away from the cost to actually value. So I think
that is what I'm internally advocating within my organization. Yeah, so we are I'm the biggest advocate that these are the technologies. I can't even say they are the technology of the future. They are already here. We need to implement. If we don't, we are simply missing out on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you, folks. Really appreciate your time. Busy schedules, but this has been an really awesome experience, sharing your wisdom, as I said, with our audience. Cloud is definitely there. It's becoming mainstream, or has become mainstream, depending on the industry. And we see more and more getting adopted, not only at the central IT level, even at the edge, and at all layers: application, data, infrastructure, of course, and even OT as well, as Surbhi explained quite well. So as I said, it's important to keep the long-term cloud strategy that is aligned to the business. Then only you can actually create an ROI, if you will. And also we learned cost is not necessarily the only way to look at measure cloud. It's important that you have a view of business value and incorporate that into your overall value case. And we also heard about how important it is to measure an ongoing basis. First, getting the architecture right, architect for the future, not for the current immediate thing. Look at the architecture and continue to leverage the cloud capabilities that are getting rolled out probably real time. And how do you configure them to control the cost and have the discipline and governance around it? So again, excellent conversation. Thank you all for your time, and back to you, Justin. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Krishna Guha, Surbhi, and Sharad for an interesting discussion. And of course, thank you, Krishna Mohan, for moderating that session.